All right. Hey, Gary, thanks so much for joining me again. And normally I jump right into my questions, but I got a different one here. What is that behind you?
Nathan, thanks. That is my very latest drone. It's called AirShield drone. As you can see here, it has my AirShield on it for RF aerial surveillance. We actually sell these successfully to ports as well as airports.
Okay.
So for areas that are very difficult to get to for RF surveillance,
Right.
in general, you can just fly this drone over there, and it can pick up all of the RF communications across cellular, CBRS, of course, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, anything going on in difficult areas to reach. My AirShield drone, serves that purpose. So the reason why it's here today is I'm working on it, and I've got a few things to upgrade on it. So that's the AirShield drone. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, that is very cool and such a great thing that you guys offer. So, I mean, you just mentioned, Wi-Fi and cellular and these different things. There's a big discussion out there, Wi-Fi versus cellular.
Mhm.
Which is better, first of all? And then how do you choose the right, wireless technology for your company, like for your organization? So give me a little bit. Let's wade into this debate and let's talk this out.
Okay, well, thanks, Nathan, for the question. So, well, regardless of what wireless technology you're leaning towards, both technologies are used to address different kinds of challenges, right? And neither one is universally superior. That's first and
Okay.
foremost. All devices, right, if you think about it, need a stable and secure way of connecting to the internet to communicate and exchange data, right?
Hmm.
So choosing between Wi-Fi versus cellular wireless technologies for your application involves evaluating various factors such as coverage, the data requirements, the power consumption, latency, security, and of course the cost of deployment. So, to determine which wireless technology best suits your needs, the first question you need to answer is: does my project require mission critical connectivity versus massive connectivity? So, depending on the answer to that question, this will help steer you towards the right protocol and frequency to use, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So there's many options out there, especially if it's an IoT application that you're looking to deploy. So although Wi-Fi has been the most dominant choice for IoT deployments over the years, cellular has gained a lot of momentum because
Hmm.
the cost of deployment has come down and is now a highly viable alternative. So the choice between Wi-Fi and cellular for your project will depend largely on the devices being used and the goal of the application. Ultimately, Nathan, right, the decision will come down to making trade-offs between power consumption, bandwidth, coverage, and security, and so forth. And for folks listening, if you go to my lock.io website, that's loch.io, I actually have an infographic, a really useful infographic that helps convey the difference between Wi-Fi and cellular and the best protocol to use for the job. So this infographic highlights the location detection, bandwidth requirements, coverage requirements, security and power usage, etc., etc. And of course, ultimately, the cost between Wi-Fi and cellular is also highlighted on that infographics. Make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And thanks for answering that. And that's a great resource that I'm sure folks will take advantage of. As we're talking Wi-Fi and everything, I'm hearing these things, and granted, I'm not an expert like you, but I'm hearing about Wi-Fi 7, and that's supposed to be coming out. So give me a little bit about what it is. What are the key benefits and advantages of considering this new type of technology?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nathan. Of course, Wi-Fi 7, also known as 802.11be, is expected to be ratified later on this year in 2024. Wi-Fi 7 does offer significant enhancements over its predecessor, right? Wi-Fi
Okay.
6,
Hmm.
also known as 802.11ax. But some of the key benefits and advantages of Wi-Fi 7 are very simple. The number one, right, it's all about higher data rates. So Wi-Fi 7 is expected to offer significantly higher data rates, data throughputs over Wi-Fi 6. Wi-Fi 7 is potentially going to get us to close to 30 gigabits per second or more, whereby Wi-Fi 6, the current Wi-Fi standard, only offers up to 9.6 gigabits per second. So Wi-Fi 7 offers us 3 times greater, throughput speed, and hence the interest in upgrading from 6 to 7. And of course, both technologies operate on the standard 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz bands, and so it's kind of all standard frequencies being used, standard protocols being used. But coming back to Wi-Fi 7 for a minute, what makes Wi-Fi 7 really special is that these higher throughput speeds are achieved in Wi-Fi 7 through more efficient use of the spectrum called QAMs. QAM stands for quadrature amplitude modulation, bit of a mouthful, and it uses this higher order modulation with wider channel bandwidth capabilities up to 320 megahertz compared to the traditional Wi-Fi 6 of 80 megahertz or 160 megahertz channels. So without getting too much off into the weeds, Wi-Fi 6, or as we call it, or known as 802.11ax, is still very much a viable wireless technology, as it supports MIMO, OFDM. MIMO stands for multiple input, multiple output, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, which offers great coverage and data throughput. Plus, Wi-Fi 6 does support the newer higher order QAM modulation, albeit 1024 QAMs, which, again, don't get too technical here, which equals about 10 bits of data compared to 4096 QAMs as in Wi-Fi 7, which equals 12 bits of data, which is really a 20% increase rate, 20% rate increase. So again, moving on, from some of the nuts and bolts there, the Wi-Fi 7, its whole goal is to improve latency. So the key advantage here is that Wi-Fi 7 aims to reduce latency, which is crucial for applications like online gaming, virtual reality. You have real-time video conferencing and so forth, right? So Wi-Fi 7 introduces this multi-link operation capability, which allows devices to transmit data over multiple bands, such as 2.4, 5 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz simultaneously, which is pretty cool in the wireless world. It's never been done before, so that's pretty cool. And this is leading to more efficiencies across the data transmission and ultimately, reduced latency. So this Wi-Fi 7, offers enhanced capability and efficiency with advancements like higher order QAMs, as I mentioned before, like quadrature amplitude modulation and wider channels. Wi-Fi 7 can handle more data simultaneously, making it better for certain applications, certain environments with lots of devices connected to it, to be quicker at getting folks onto the network and so forth. And then, of course, furthermore, Wi-Fi 7 offers this better spectrum utilization, whereby Wi-Fi 7 is expected to make more efficient use of the available spectrum I just mentioned above, including the newly opened up 6 gigahertz band. So you may recall, Nathan, that Wi-Fi 6E already exists today, right? Wi-Fi 6E utilizes this new frequency band, but Wi-Fi 7 will expand upon it further, providing less congestion and better interference going forward. Wi-Fi 6E is an extension of Wi-Fi 6
Hmm.
and operates in the newly available 6 gigahertz frequency band. The E in Wi-Fi 6E stands for extended. The 6
Okay.
gigahertz band offers more available spectrum compared to the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands, providing additional channels for Wi-Fi devices and, of course, ultimately reducing congestion. That's the whole purpose and goal of this.
Sure.
By utilizing this 6 gigahertz band, Wi-Fi 6E devices, again, can achieve higher data rates, lower latency, leading to improved performance and user experiences. So Wi-Fi 7, I know this is getting a little bit long-winded here. The Wi-Fi 7, offers this backward compatibility, like previous, Wi-Fi generations. Wi-Fi 7 is expected to be backward compatible with other Wi-Fi standards, ensuring seamless integration with existing devices. Wi-Fi 7 also offers support for more robust and reliable connections. The technology advancements in Wi-Fi 7 are geared towards more robust and reliable connections, which is very important in mission critical applications that businesses are now starting to roll out. So that's very important. So in summary, Nathan, right, it's a very exciting time to be in the wireless field, as these advancements open up new possibilities for innovation and enhanced performance in wireless technologies. These new efficiencies in Wi-Fi 7 support more complex and data intense IoT applications, while improving the reliability and reducing latency, which is ultimately the goal here. And it, of course, helps ensure these networks are responsive, and that's the big difference between cellular, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7, if that makes sense.
No, that's great. With all of these new innovations and capabilities that are coming with all of this, what are the risks and threats associated with all of this wireless technology that we're talking about here?
Yeah, it's a great question, and of course, it's always a moving target, right? So,
Hmm.
although wireless technologies bring numerous benefits, they also introduce various risks and threats that organizations and individuals, must be aware of. To mitigate these risks and threats, of course, organizations and individuals should implement strong security measures
Hmm.
such as encryption, authentication, better access control, and of course, intrusion detection systems, and of course, perform regular security audits across their wireless networks and devices to prevent, attackers from, potential unauthorized access and so forth. So some of the risks, or some of the key risks and threats associated with wireless technologies, in particular, include unauthorized access, eavesdropping. Been around forever. Whether you were, you're still on Wi-Fi 5, that's AC, to live in AC, or you've moved to Wi-Fi 6, which is AX. Anyway, the point being is eavesdropping. This is where hackers may attempt to intercept wireless communications
Hmm.
to eavesdrop on sensitive information, Nathan, such as usernames, passwords, confidential data, especially if the data is being transmitted without encryption, right?
Sure.
You also have these things called man-in-the-middle attacks. This is where an attacker may insert themselves between the communicating parties to intercept and manipulate data exchanged between them.
Hmm.
You have man-in-the-middle attacks that can compromise the confidentiality and integrity of the data over this wireless network. So it's a big problem. Wireless networks also suffer from denial of service attacks, DOS attacks, right? This is where an attacker may flood the network with excessive traffic or malicious packets, causing network congestion and rendering services unavailable to legitimate users. So DOS attacks ultimately can disrupt operations and lead to service downtime. Big problem, and it's quite common. Um, You also have rogue access point problems, Nathan. This is where you have unauthorized access points deployed within your organization, right, within your premise, without authorization. In other words, nobody knows it's there. So rogue access points can facilitate unauthorized access to the network and increase the risk of data breaches. It's a huge problem. In fact, it's probably one of the top problems associated with wireless networks in general, because even laptops, Windows 11, Windows 10, they have soft APs built into their laptops, and through, again, lack of understanding, you can have bridge connections now going from the laptop and creating these wireless access points, and they don't even know it's there. So rogue access points come in different forms, soft APs as well as physical, devices. So that's a huge problem. Another key area that you need to be mindful of within wireless security is SSID spoofing. That's the wireless network name that's being advertised. Right? This is where attackers may create a fake wireless network that looks similar to the legitimate network and lures unsuspecting users into connecting to them. So if you have an organization and your SSID is, Garry, to be simple, and I come along and I fire up a fake access point called Garry, but no encryption, and give it a stronger signal, it's very likely you'll connect to me before you connect to a legitimate, access point, and that's kind of called SSID spoofing. So again, once connected, right, attackers can intercept traffic and launch further attacks into the network against the connected devices on their spoofed SSID rogue access point. So that's another area that customers need to be concerned about. You also have weak encryption issues, right? So you may decide to deploy, Wi-Fi 7 and WPA3, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But you have encryption issues. This is where insecure encryption protocols or misconfigurations can weaken the security of the wireless network, making them susceptible to cryptographic attacks that compromise confidentiality of the transmitted data. So that's a huge problem. You also have physical security risks, Nathan. This is where wireless devices such as routers, access points, and IoT devices may be physically accessible to unauthorized individuals, increasing the risks of tampering, theft, or compromise. You also have Bluetooth and NFC vulnerabilities. Wireless technologies like Bluetooth and near-field communications, also known as NFC, may be vulnerable to spoofing, jamming, and sniffing attacks. So at lock.io, LOCH.io, we have a wireless airspace defense white paper that I encourage folks to download. In this document, we explain the new external attack surface of wireless with mitigation strategies specifically to tackle wireless risks and threats. Nathan.
Yeah. Again, another great resource for folks to use. And thanks for that explanation. And you mentioned, Garry, that WPA3 is out there and everything. And I mean, maybe I just don't know enough, but I thought that kind of solved these hacking problems. So what's the difference there? Why isn't that solving everything?
Yeah, again, it's a good question, and a lot of people are always trying to adopt the very latest security protocols. And you're right, WPA3 is out. Stands for Wi-Fi Protected Access. And WPA3 does present the latest generation of Wi-Fi security protocols, and it is designed to address vulnerabilities that were found in the previous version, WPA2, and improve upon the overall security posture of wireless networks. However, with that said, right, the widespread adoption of WPA3 has been slow, just due to the fact that there's new hardware and software updates required in order for that to work. So it's been slow on the adoption to say the least. As I believe as Wi-Fi continues to evolve, I do believe WPA3 will play a crucial role in ensuring the security and privacy of wireless communications going forward. So it is important to note and understand some of the potential vulnerabilities that attackers will use against a WPA3 network going forward. So while WPA3 is designed to be more secure than WPA2, it's not immune to all types of attacks. And some of the potential attacks I'm going to talk about in a few minutes will highlight that. The number one being, dictionary attacks. I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, but this is where attackers can still attempt to crack the WPA3 passphrase using dictionary attacks. Number two, you have what's called brute force attacks. Although WPA3 has measures in place to make brute force attacks more difficult, determined attackers may still attempt to guess the passphrase through repeated login attempts, if that makes sense. Number three, you also have offline dictionary attacks, which is a huge problem. In some scenarios, attackers may capture the WPA3 handshake, and then when a device connects to the network, and then attempt to use an offline dictionary attack to kind of crack the passphrase. So it's very important to have continuous monitoring in place and looking for unauthorized activities within your environment. So implementing, how do we solve all these problems? This is just a few of them, but implementing a next generation wireless intrusion detection system such as LOCK's AirShield, wireless airspace defense platform to monitor this unusual behavior can help detect such attacks as this. Number four, another area that is a huge problem are a thing called rainbow tables, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard of rainbow tables. Maybe they don't really understand what it does, but these rainbow tables, this is where attackers may use rainbow tables to obviously crack passwords and so forth and passphrases. But this is pre-computed tables of possible passphrases and their corresponding hashes. So it's combining the passphrases with their hashes to quickly crack weak WPA3 passphrases. So rainbow tables, commonly available, you can get them from anywhere, and of course you can actually buy quite extensive libraries. And what it does is it looks at the salted hash of a passphrase and the hash to be able to crack the password, passphrase, and so forth. So that's another one. I would say phishing attacks is a huge problem. Phishing attacks, Nathan, this is where attackers may use phishing techniques to trick users into revealing the WPA3 passphrase. This can involve creating a fake login page or mimic a legitimate network's authentication page. And I've experienced this personally in some of the audits and penetration tests that we've been involved in the past, where we bring up the company's splash page, we bring up Windows login prompt, and people just log in and they're connected to the wrong network. So phishing attacks are a real clear and present danger. Number six, you have this thing called evil twin attacks. This is where attackers can set up a rogue access point with the same name as the legitimate WPA3 network or WPA2 network, doesn't really matter. It's known as an evil twin. This is, again, a trick. It's a technique to trick users into connecting to a malicious network. And this is where you can then capture data or launch attacks from there. So evil twins are a huge problem. You need to be able to detect for that in real time, 7x24. Number seven, exploiting vulnerabilities in WPA3 implementations. I see this all the time when I'm doing deployments and I'm doing assessments. Security flaws or vulnerabilities in the implementation of WPA3 in specific devices or routers can be targets for attackers. So very often we'll see brand new deployments with WPA3 or even WPA2, set up whereby they can accept a high level of encryption, but they're also backward compatible to opens. So you have this ability to have an implementation flaw, and we see it all the time. Yes, I can talk to you in WPA3, but I can also talk to you in open. So guess what? It's low-hanging fruit for the attackers. So it's recommended. I recommend that regular update firmwares. Is done. Patch management's in place. And of course, you keep the software up to date as best as you can on your routers and switches, particularly your access points, so that there's no WPA 3 flaws or oversights in place. Another big area of concern within wireless is called denial of service, DOS attacks. And again, while DOS attacks are not directly tied to WPA3, it's tied to everything. DOS attacks are deliberate, and that they disturb or disrupt the network services, making it difficult for legitimate users to connect. Right? So that's the problem with denial service. That's why you need to be monitoring, and you need to be visible everywhere to this type of attack. And then I'd say finally, number 9, you have this insider threat problem as well, right? This is whereby trusted individuals with access to the network can pose a threat. So proactive monitoring and auditing of the wireless network is key to be able to detect this suspicious behavior. So it's very important to now in your wireless security implementations to leverage AI and ML to be able to not just understand the connectivity, but to understand the behavior aspects of the connectivity. So Nathan, whether the customer sticks to Wi-Fi 6 using WPA2, or they're moving to Wi-Fi 7 using WPA3, wireless is the new network, and it's the new external attack surface, what we call the invisible threats. So again, if customers are interested in learning more about Lock's AirShield wireless airspace defense, they can go to our website, lock.io, and get a great white paper on wireless airspace defense and learn how to be able to detect, assess, and prevent risk from this new world of wireless. Thank you.
So Garry, one last question here. With all of these threats, all of these risks that are happening with wireless, and so many organizations utilizing wireless all the time, how does Lock provide solutions for their customers to kind of combat all of this?
Right. Again, good questions. So you've got to. So what at Lock, we're continuously innovating. In the old days, we used to have fixed chipset whereby we only looked at the old 2.45 gigahertz frequencies. But now, because of the explosion of IoT and the fact that we're now using 900 megahertz, 800 megahertz, 700 megahertz, what you really need to do is have what's called a software-defined radio at the edge to be able to Shazam all things wireless, whether it be cellular running on 6 gigahertz, whether it be CBRS running on 3.5 gigahertz, whether it be IoT like Sigfox, LoRa, Thread, you name it, running on some other frequency or some other protocol. You need a software-defined radio that's dynamically in tune with the ever-changing environment. So what we've done at Lock is we've built a sensor called AirShield that really gives the customer an independent audit of findings, right? Trust but verify. So the first thing we do is we allow our customers to obviously have complete visibility of their environment, right? As I said before, you can't defend what you don't know, so visibility is key. And if you don't have a software-defined radio that understands 800 megahertz, 900 megahertz, 3.5 gigahertz where CBRS lives, you're flying blind. It's that simple. And then the second line of defense is to be able to make sense of that chaos by ranking in order of severity the risks that have been discovered. Fix this first, fix this second, fix this next. And of course, the third line of defense is being able to have mitigation capabilities,
Right.
to be able to air terminate, devices that are out with a codification to risk, out with a vulnerability exposure state that puts the business at risk, to be able to air terminate that, and having the ability to share that threat intelligence with either a SIM or a source platform for further side-by-side analysis. So that's what Lock does, is we have this AirShield wireless airspace defense platform that allows the customers to really just understand what's in the environment, understand what the risks are, and be able to do something about it, right? Make sense of that chaos. Because Gartner, mentioned a number of years ago to me that, Gary, 80% of IoT devices are wirelessly connected. They're not wired. Therefore, you need something in the air that understands all the protocols, all the new frequencies, to be able to, eliminate that risk. And that's what we've built, Nathan.
Great stuff. Well, Garry, as always, this has been great to talk to you. Thank you so much for answering all these questions, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you very much.